Welcome to the Healing Trauma Through Conscious Embodiment Summit, revealing your body's wisdom and utilizing creativity and healing. My name is Greg Westwood, and I'm your host. My work depth integration integrates meditation with breath work, inquiry, journey work, and movement as conscious embodiment tools for healing. The purpose of this summit is to support participants who are searching for that deeper and longer lasting healing that conscious embodiment tools provide. My intention is to educate, motivate, and inspire each of us into taking empowered steps in our healing journeys and in remembering who we truly are. I am so honored to introduce my next guests, Owen and Micheal O'Sullivan. The brothers are amazing artists that are from Ireland, and they are going to do an amazing presentation today entitled The Medicine of the Celtic Imagination. So, Owen, I turn it over to you.
Fadir haspel avacatum gragia Mohon ismohon Chonik meir balei laron Mohon ismohon Kein verbraschen kron pasche Mohon ismohon Nun neem karun spwintje kwiger the vol calling Mohon ismohon Mohon ismohon Thank you, Greg, for the invitation to join you and your audience of healers and those who are drawn to the art of healing. And it is indeed, they call it a vocation, something from the Latin vocare, the voice. It's something that the healing art is something that must be said. It is to find your voice, is to walk the path of the healer. And the path of the healer can be a lonely path. Indeed, the healer is, in all traditions, always put on a pedestal, and they wear a special suit, a special costume often. They have a ritual purpose. And so the healer is the person that is actually leading this ritual, this transformation, a psychopomp taking our body and our soul from one state to another. So what I want to do is to talk, our time is so limited. We could be talking about this all year, but the idea of the Celtic imagination and the medicine that is bestowed, it's there for the offering in the Celtic imagination. So first of all, we have to ask, what is the Celtic imagination? And the answer to that is that people have been asking that for thousands of years of recorded history, and perhaps even longer than that. And the answer is that nobody knows what the Celtic imagination is. And that's the very reason why I'm talking about it. Because the Celtic imagination represents the ineffable. And actually, like a vocation, the minute you do give voice to it, It's no longer that anymore, So it's the thing that's just before we're about to say something. It's that essence, that the part of ourselves that we do not yet know. It's just over the horizon, somewhere over the rainbow, is what the Celtic imagination is. And so what's the point then, if you can't know this? And the point is that without that part, without that place, we are only walking on one foot, because we need both eyes to see the true dimension of the world. We need both ears to hear. And the neurologists will tell us that we need both parts of our brain to get the full essence of existence and of being. And if we overemphasize one of those parts of ourselves, we become lopsided, we start to lean and we start to become brittle. So the Celtic imagination, the word Keltoi, the ancient Greeks, in our Western Greco-Roman inheritance, that's really the Western European philosophy comes out of that, Greece and Rome. And the ancient Greeks referred to the Keltoi. And the Keltoi were basically anybody who weren't from Athens. And each one of us knows that, anyone who isn't part of our group, the other. And so the word Keltoi simply meant the other. The Celts never called themselves Celts. They probably called themselves Gauls, Gaels, Galicians, Galicia. There's places all around Europe that have that word Gal. And in Irish, we speak Gaeilge, or Gaelic, as you say in the US. So the Celts probably referred to themselves as Gaels, but we're not sure how they referred to themselves because they didn't write things down. Their tradition was an oral tradition. It was so sacred, in fact, that it couldn't be written down. To write something down was to remove its essence, you see. And so it was an oral tradition. The Greeks referred to them as Keltoi, as the other. And basically, the Celtic imagination throughout the Western, Greco-Roman tradition, the Celtic imagination was that very thing. It was the other, the uncivilized, the unknown, that which was out on the horizon, somewhere beyond our knowing. And throughout the centuries, this is what Celtic meant. This is specifically Ireland too. Ireland was on the very western edge of the ancient known world. And it was a place where you went on pilgrimage to view the horizon of the setting sun, where the sun goes and light changes into darkness. And suddenly the visible world is no longer there. As Rilke says, now the work of the eyes is done. Now is the time for heart work, to do the heart work on all the things invisible within us. So Ireland was that place where you would go to do your heart work. And it has an extraordinary climate. The perfect climate for heart work actually is up in Ireland, because you get this soft, temperate rain that blows kind of from all directions. You just have this moisture. So it's perfect weather if you want to have a good cry, And there is a lovely, it never really freezes in Ireland. So there's this lovely, temperate, kind of wet, cold, tropical it's a cold, tropical climate, where even in December, the grass will grow and you'll see a rose every now and then. So that's really what Ireland holds for us all. We don't need to have any DNA, or family connection in order to go to that place, which is on the western side of ourselves, the peripheral side of ourselves, the liminal space of ourselves. That really is what Celtic is. And that's why the linguists and the anthropologists fight and disagree as to what Celtic is, because there is no answer, you see. The Celtic imagination is that other, that place that is not our civilized, daily, routine, structured self. It's beyond the pale. And that phrase, beyond the pale, literally comes from Ireland. The pale was the anglicized, the English settlement of Dublin and its surrounding area. That was known as the Pale. And beyond the pale was, that's where me and my brother were from, was the rest of the country, was beyond the pale. And even in our contemporary English lexicon today, we use that phrase, beyond the pale, to mean other, Celtic, crazy, uncivilized, wild, dangerous too, you see. But the Celtic imagination is there. This culture has carried on and has been passed on over the centuries. And I sang a song there, which is one of the songs that me and my brother learned from our mother, and that she learned from one of the great old stores of traditional Irish song in Ireland. And our mother, when she was in college, she traveled around Ireland collecting and archiving the sacred songs in the Irish language, which were on the brink of being lost entirely. And she put together a whole study and a series of recordings with a monastery with a bunch of monks in Ireland. And one of the great songs is the song that I just sung there, Cuina na Drí Mhuire, the lament. The Cuina is as a cry, a lament of the three Marys. Our word in English to keening comes from that Irish word cuina, to cry. And in Irish Celtic tradition, when someone died, the body was washed and prepared and brought to the home and laid out in the living room of the home, and all of the community and family would come and visit the corpse and touch the corpse and have a real communion with the corpse and with the family. And it very often turned into a great celebration, you know, of food and of drink and of story and memory and remembering. And we did it ourselves with our father back in 2018. And the healing of this event, of this ritual, is just so palpable, sharing tears and touch with family and community. And about 100 years ago, there was this keening tradition that still survived from very, very ancient times, where a group of women from the community would come and gather around the corpse. And there was this ritual wailing, this lamenting sound that they did over the corpse in order to send the corpse to the over the horizon. And that word that I was repeating in the song, mochonis mochono, mochonis mochono, that phrase may have been part of that keening sound. Ochon is ochono. And in that song particularly, this is another interesting artifact of the Celtic imagination. And that song, certainly, and that ochon, that keening tradition, predated Christianity coming to Ireland, which was 1500 years ago. But what happened when the Christian story that came out of the Middle East eventually hit the Celtic imagination, there was this sort of explosion of creativity that occurred. And the Celts, it was said, well, we've known about your Christ for thousands of years. It's been part of our spirituality all along. So we very much welcome hearing that God has incarnated over in the Middle East. And so again, that imagination of the divine being enfleshed among us, that everything actually has an essence of the spirit of the divine. And why wouldn't God send their son, you know, 2000 years ago, or even today, amongst us? Why wouldn't they gather in Zoom, you know, virtually together right now, today? So the Celts had this very easy, comfortable, uncomplicated relationship with this idea. And so you can see that when you know the Book of Kells. You might be familiar with the Book of Kells. And the Book of Kells is the New Testament that has been illuminated by the monks in Ireland about 1200 years ago. And so they took the Gospels and they did this psychedelic, crazy kind of interpretation of them with gold leaf and multicolors and animals hidden inside the text. And there was this amazing warmth and creativity to imbue in that story. And the lyrics of this song also show that beautiful creativity of interpreting that Christian story. And in this song, Jesus is on the cross and he speaks to his mother as he is dying, and he's consoling his mother. And there's this conversation, there's a dialogue between the dying son, the loved one who's passing on before your eyes, and the mother the part of ourselves that is totally and unconditionally attached to that thing that we see dying before our eyes, you know. And so Jesus says, the son says, well, first of all, Mary starts off and she says, Peter, apostle Peter, have you seen my love so bright? Machonis machono. Peter says, I saw him with his enemies, a harrowing sight. Machonis machono. Who is that fine man upon the passion tree? Machon is machono. It's your son, dear mother. Know you not me? Machon is machono. Is that the small babe I bore 9 months in my womb, Machonis Machono, that was born in a stable, where when no house would give us room, Machonis Machono. Mother, be quiet, calm down. Let not your heart be torn. Machonis Machono, my keening women mother are yet to be born. Machonis Machono. Father splavakatum gragial Machon yismachon no Chonik meir balei laron naod Machon yismachon no Hey, an farbrashen kron the paisha Mochon is mochon no Muneshin avakin adon permetrira Machon is machon ship Hishlium navarnium is no bikroiche Machon is machon no Tam nama quinchel brefos varin Machon is machon no Machon is machon no
Lovely, Owen. You touched on so many things there, and I'm glad we're on the same page about the Celtic imagination, because I've no clue what it is either, but it's beautiful. But no, it makes perfect sense for me. One of the central medicinal aspects of the Celtic and Irish tradition for me is nobility in letting go, the acknowledgement, and not only that, the embodiment of disappearance in the classic Celtic oxymoronic sense, the embodiment of disappearance and the redemptive power of letting go. And as Owen was saying, we were very lucky to inherit matrilineally a store of songs passed down from in the female tradition in Ireland, and a lot of those songs are keening songs or lamentative songs, and a lot of them are songs of letting go. For instance, one of the choruses called Once I Loved, one of the choruses goes, go and leave me if you wish to, never let me cross your mind, and if you think I've proved unworthy, go and leave me I don't mind. Another great famous song in the Irish tradition of letting go is Shul Aroon, and it's in the Irish language. The refrain, Shul, Shul, Shul Aroon, walk, walk, walk away. Shul go doras agus éliglum, walk to the door and leave me. Shul go suchir agus shul go ciún, walk proudly and walk quietly. Go, my love, farewell. And another famous woman's song, and it goes, Shul, shul, shul aroon. Shul go sohir agus shul go ciún. Shul go doras agus éliglum. As go déan tú má bhór níos slán. Go, my love, farewell. This embodiment or acknowledgement of our own mortality or the disappearance of things has trickled down into the everyday of Irish people through our artistic and poetic shared commons. Even right up until one of the biggest Irish hits borrowed from our Scottish cousins of the 20th century, a great song called Go Lassie Go. And I learned it relatively recently myself several years ago, and in the third verse, there is an opening line, and if my true love were gone, and there's another version I've seen, if my true love should die, I would surely find another, and pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Ah, the summertime is coming, and the trees are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain thyme grows around the bloomin' heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the bloomin' heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And if my true love should die, I would surely find another to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the bloomin' heather. Will you go, lassie, go? I was really taken with that third verse, and if my true love should die, it's not every day you get the acknowledgement so articulately in a love song about the end of a relationship, the scariest thing in all of our lives, the end of that which we hold dear. And I asked my mother, what about that third verse? I didn't see it coming. And she looked at me and she said, that verse is for the old people. If my true love were gone, I would surely find another. It's redemptive, it's forthright, it's very righteous. And I love to work with a poem I wrote called Go Lassie Go. I'm a singer and a poet, so I like to let the art forms short circuit each other. And this poem is around that third verse, that embodiment of letting go, the embodiment of disappearance. Go, lassie, go. If your true love should die, would you surely find another? You chose a body to love you, astonished yourself by lust for flesh, fell in love with the mind within, and clung to them so tightly to capture and redeem your own skin. Your chosen mind, this chosen flesh, now no longer here, dead to this world, yet you and they are still wedded, enslaved by their absence, humbled by love. And we'll all go together, clutching flowers of the mountain, for within love's last rites are powers to baptize and love be born again. For if your true love should die, would you surely find another? You chose a body to love you, astonished yourself by lust for flesh, fell in love with the mind within, and clung to them so tightly to capture and redeem your own skin. your chosen mind, this chosen flesh, now no longer here, dead to this world, yet you and they are still wedded, enslaved by their absence, humbled by love, and we'll all go together, clutching flowers of the mountain, for within love's last rites are powers to baptize and love be born again. I would build my love a bower by yon pure and crystal fountain, and on it I will lay all the flowers of the mountain. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the bloomin' heather. Will you go, lassie, go? Will you go, lassie, go?
Thank you, brothers, for sharing your beautiful voices, your transformative words. I've dropped into my body so deeply, being with you. I just had a question for both of you. I'm clear about the healing of your art, how it touches me. How does it touch you when you express your talents and to others?
Cool.
It's a beautiful question.
Yeah, oh my goodness, yeah. I was thinking when you were singing, Micheal, of, I suppose, something similar around that question, Greg, that I was thinking about how as a musician or a poet, one can sing or present or publish their art and then leave it. And what me and my brother have pursued more recently, well, I suppose it's been a while now, but is the reflection or the teaching of the art, sharing not just the experience of it, but the reflection on it too. And even the application of the art, how to apply the medicine, how to take the right dose, and how to follow the right regimen when approaching this medicine that is in, you can hear it. You know, we've given you the whistle stop whiplash tour of Irish cultural, you know, of song and poetry, that, but you just know, you can resonate that there's deep wisdom in it all. Something jumped out to me just there, that, you know, that line, my keening women, mother, are not yet born. My keening women, mother, are not yet born. And I just said, I mean, the mystery inside that line. So to answer your question around about way, yes, I'm constantly reflecting on this strange type of art or performance or healing ritual that I'm engaged in. It's very unusual. And it's constantly deepening for me. Right now in this call, that line jumped out to me, and I've sang that song 1,000 times, and now it's opened up even further. So, I mean, that's extraordinary, isn't it? Surely by now you'd have thought I'd have wrung every drop of meaning out of it, but absolutely not. And even you thought I'd have worked it out, because I was thinking, what is this strange thing we're doing? And what popped up in my head during this call were the mentors that we have apprenticed ourselves with, which, of course, like the Buddha behind you, you know, the ancestors, the shoulders on which the human chain of which we're a part of. And what's beautiful about grief, you see, isn't that grief is all about me, me, me. But what if grief is actually all about the passing on of the human chain, that my grief is actually for the next generation, that I'm passing something through the hallway of grief. Grief has got nothing to do with me. It's actually the growth forward into the next generation. And so all these things are coming to my mind, and ancestors. And so our mother is a great teacher of ours who's certainly alive and well. Our father passed away in 2018. He was an extraordinary artist, but also a great teacher of the art too, and founded an academy of music and dance at the university in Limerick where we're from. And then another great teacher of ours is the poet David Whyte. And David Whyte is one of the great masters of elucidation, of applying the wisdom of the arts into our everyday life, you know, even into our corporate and professional lives. And so, yeah, that's what I think of all the time. I'm constantly processing it and wondering about it, curiosity and wonder. And I think that if I were to lose that curiosity and wonder, I think one then starts to impersonate oneself, and something starts to become a mask that is a sign that it's a skin that must be shed. So when we feel that we're going through motions, and when that curiosity and wonder starts to become a little less active and vibrant, I believe that's the sign that we must start to let go of something, a skin of ourselves, a mask of ourselves. So yeah, that's a beautiful question, Greg, that I was really thinking about during this call. So thank you for intuiting that and asking that. Yeah. Micheal, what do you think?
For me, it does what it says on the tin. The embodiment of disappearance in the songs so overtly, and within the poetry that we've learned from David and from our Irish mentors as well, and the Irish tradition. Even the other day, talking about the unfolding wisdom of building on the insight of the work, be it songs or poetry. The insight is what we bring to it and how we reflect it outwards. There's a great Yeats poem I committed to memory recently, The Lake Isle of Innisfree, and the first verse goes, I will arise and go now and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin build there of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, and a hive for the honey bee, and live alone in the bee loud glade. And live alone
Beautiful.
in the bee loud glade is the last line of that verse. So to live alone is the promised land. We must live alone in that bee loud glade.
I love that phrase, to the embodiment of disappearance. That's a new one you've coined there. And Yeats, that poem was one of Yeats's first poems that he says he found his poetic voice. And he was walking down Oxford Street in London, the busiest street at the heart of the greatest empire the world had ever seen. And he's walking down Oxford Street as an Irishman, the alter ego, the true Celts of the British Empire, you know. And he's walking down Oxford Street and he looks in the window and he hears this sound of water trickling. There was a fountain kind of display in the shop window. And he heard this sound of water trickling, and he was transported back to this island in a lake on the west of Ireland. And suddenly the whole city, you know, disappeared. And he was there through the sound. He says at the last verse, I will arise and go now, for always night and day. I hear lake water lapping in low sounds by the shore. When I'm upon the roadway or on the pavements gray, I hear it in the deep heart's core. I hear it in the deep heart's core, you know. So I love that. That's the embodiment of disappearance. At any moment, too, Yeats is showing us, and the Celtic imagination says you don't have to get down on your knees, you know, and crawl up the mountaintop on pilgrimage. It's right here beside you. There's a beautiful phrase, old Celtic phrase, that God is closer than the door. God is closer to you than the door. And you just have to just lean that little way and crack the heart open, you know, Seamus Heaney, to catch the heart off guard and blow it open, you know. So yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah,
to commit these pieces, the work, to memory especially, gives us, you know, a somatic exercise in our own disappearance. And As a young man, I took it on, and not knowing what I was getting myself into. And the great gift for me was that I suppose it brought on, as you say, Owen, a shedding of the skin a little bit earlier than maybe some of my peers. It brought on a crisis within me earlier than those who are yet to experience that. And that's what I've taken from that redemptive embodiment of disappearance. I'm not guaranteeing I won't have another mental breakdown, Greg. I wouldn't take bets on it. You know what I mean? But I had one, and I'm done for now.
There's life in you yet. But that's a wonderful prescription. You're right, Micheal, is just learning a couple of lines off by heart. When we say that, to learn something by heart, and there's a great clue there. And it's very, very difficult actually to learn off a few lines of poetry. You have to repeat it a lot. You have to really dedicate yourself to it. But in doing it, there's an extraordinary healing that occurs. The mind starts to oscillate on a certain vibration. You click into this space, and no matter how many times you recite that poem to yourself, or more importantly to others, you have to take that courageous step then and actually bust out your poem at your family gathering or something. And when you do, the wisdom that's revealed can never be revealed simply by reading the poem. Never. You will never extract the same meaning through just reading as you do through recitation. And of course the Celts knew that. That's one of the reasons they say why they didn't write things down. Yeah.
Oh, I could do this all day, all week. This is just a beautiful conversation. I'm so glad you discovered more things, more wisdom in this presentation. It shows the power of the creative process. Wow, I'm just, I'm without words.
A true Celt, spoken like a true Celt.
Yeah, I'm sure I am on many levels. So I don't want this to end, but we should probably should say that we'll have a link to your website so people can learn more about your beautiful work. You're also gifting something to people that join your mailing list. Do you want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, sure. Well, we work a lot with our mother, and over the last couple of years, we've put together an online school where we present with her. And we've based it around the Celtic Wheel of the Year, the 4 great festivals that marked the whole turning of the year, which of course represents the whole cyclical nature, the seasonal nature of our own lives. And if you go to our website and enter in your email address, you can get access to one of those courses and experience our mother as well too. And we present those live at certain times as well too. So we'd love to invite you. And twice a year we bring people to Ireland in full body, somatic experience. For a week, and Micheal and my mother just said goodbye to the first group there, and I had to step out because we welcomed into the world me and my wife's first child just 5 weeks ago.
Yes.
So, but we've another one coming up in September, which is mostly filled. But next year we'll have 2 more as well. So if people would like to keep in touch, we'd be honored. Yeah.
He means another tour, not another baby.
maybe another baby. But we'd be honored if any of your audience, Greg, would like to get in touch. And of course, if you have any questions, you can contact us through the website or whatever. And we'd love to thank you, Greg, express our gratitude to you for calling together this experience and this group of people doing such good in the world. So thank you very much for that, Spirit, and look forward to us keeping in touch in some way too. Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yes. Again, this has been such a transformative experience for me. I know how much you help with the healing of others in the world, and with your beautiful words, your incredible voices. And I'm so glad to hear that it's a transformative experience for you as well. Can't thank you guys enough for being with me from New York and Ireland. And yeah, this was beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
So thank you for watching, and please tune in to all the other wonderful presenters here at the Healing Trauma Through Conscious Embodiment Summit. Take care.